Good morning to you. Welcome to Good Morning Anambra. Rainy Tuesday. Where are you? Still lying on bed, snuggling. Trying to see if you can wake up. Some days are like that. Welcome. This is Anambra Broadcasting Service, and we are in Good Morning Anambra, running the series we'll have for you this morning. You joined late. We've had some beautifully packaged programs that have come before now. But for now, this is our discussion segment. So we'll want to look at one topical issue that really affects everybody. Sure, you wouldn't want to miss it too. So I want to look at Nigeria's poverty challenge. Why are millions still trapped in hardship? That's the topic we are cut out for this morning. By the way, my name is Sijoma Uche. Welcome. This morning, I have guests that has joined me to look at that. They are Barrister Chris Arukwe. Barrister Chris Arukwe is a public affairs analyst. Apart from the father, he's a legal practitioner. Good morning, Barrister.
Good morning. Welcome to the reigns.
Okay, good to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay. I also have Sir Jerry Obodo. Sir Jerry Obodo is also a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Nigerians. In the Anambra, let's stay together.
Okay, good to have you here.
Thanks.
Yes, you heard my topic, Nigeria's poverty challenge these days. Before we come on air, we are talking, asking this poverty thing, when are we going to get out of it? I was actually talking with my producer, asking that sometimes we sit down and wonder how we are surviving in this nation. You look at what you spend in a week, it's most times it's much more than your monthly salary. Then you keep wondering, how are we surviving? If you spend this amount for 1 week, so the 3 weeks remaining in a month before you get another round of salary, how did you manage? Or how do you manage, to get through all those ones? And then some of these palliative measures that have been in vogue, let me just say that because it has become a political statement in every sector. We are sharing palliatives here and there. And I kept asking some of my colleagues, like we are so many in these studios, that I've asked, have you ever received even a cup of rice from anywhere, or a cup of beans, or anything from anywhere in the name of palliative? They said no. Even the grant they said they're giving and whatever. I cannot point somebody I know that said that he or she has received anything. So what is going on? And yet every day you hear money in figures. 7 digits, 10 and above, yet you don't see anyone, they say rain, and everywhere is still dry. Okay, welcome. That's why we say, let's talk about this poverty in the land, Nigeria's poverty challenge. When we say poverty challenge, Barrister Arukwe, what do we really mean? I hope it's not what I have talked about.
Well, the issue is pervading. It affects 60% of our population or more. Because you know what statistics is in Nigeria is as broad as the country is. When you say 10, you might actually mean 20. So I don't believe practically in the efficacy of the statistics we release in this country. Because I know it is sometimes it's politically induced, sometimes it's an act of incompetence, it's sometimes an act of let's get it done for the masses. So if you rely on the statistics that we are seeing or being issued out, you would have a glimpse only of what is happening. But if you live within the society, within the challenged population, and you see the harrowing crisis our people, our families go through, you know that we are at the peak of whatever it relates to. That statistics is saying that we are number 2 of the poorest people in the world. Number 2, besides India, that we have a population that is of the poorest extraction in the world, global estimation. And then in 2023, we were dubbed the poverty capital of the world. meaning that we were multidimensionally poor. When you say multidimensionally poor, you're meaning that in health sector, in sanitation, in housing, in food security, and all that, hygiene and all that. So it is not in one dimension of poverty scales that we are poor. We are poor in all the ramifications of the word. If there is anything unhealthy or something that you can say ugly or uglier, it is about the poverty issue in Nigeria. And what beats the imagination is that the monies are bandied out in trillions now. We count in trillions. And we see billionaires created up and down. You see opulent lifestyles, jets, private jets, and all that. And that gives the impression that the country is doing well. But that is a facade, it's a facade, it's something that for sure the country is running. And because there's a government, that means that the government is running or that the country is moving on. But the country is actually in throes of the debt trap. We are dead, living. You are telling me how you manage as a civil servant. Your salary takes you just for 5 days, 7 days, and thereafter you don't know how you survive. How do you survive? You just survive by instinct or human connections, 5,000, a dash there, a lift up there, and all that. Crisis management, just how the people make it on a day-to-day levels. Everybody is totally turned into a beggar. Everybody is asking for funds from one other person, and one other person is asking for funds from another person. So it's like a trade by barter that the ancient living. What you don't have, you go to your neighbor, borrow some salt, and he borrows some pepper from you. That's the way Nigerians are living right now. And what do we have? We have very inhumane government that is not socially aware of its own responsibility to the people. It is not the bridges, it is not the roads that you build that are as important as the welfare of the people. Private thing is that survival is the first instinct. If somebody does not have access to food, access to drugs, access to health, access to housing, and you're building bridges, who's going to climb all those bridges? Who's going to climb all those houses you build, Taj Mahals that you build, the supermarkets that you build? Who's going to shop out there? The important thing is that our people who were elected are not by people who were elected by our choice. They are not our people. Because if they are our people, they would wonder, how do they make it from their bed to their private destinations every day? You increase the fuel charges, you increase the taxation, everything is taxable in Nigeria. Internally generated revenue is burgeoning. Everything is taxable. And yet, the people are in dungeons. Our people are in the worst form of deprivation.
Okay, let's move on. Yeah. Nigeria is often described as the giant of Africa. That's when we were growing up, that's what we were introduced to. And then there's this pride, that we had then, that we are the giant of Africa. But yet, millions still live below the poverty line. So from your perspective, what explains this painful contradiction? Giant of Africa, then the poorest country in the whole, second poorest country in the whole world.
Yeah, my own thinking is that the main problem, the cocoa problem we have is leadership. If you have good leaders, you get things right. But we haven't gotten a very good leader who is there for the people. The way the rulers, because there's a difference between rulers and leaders. The way the rulers get into power is not the process that the masses through the up. They come in through rigging, through manufacturing of figures and all that. You know, I'll give you an example. During, like, when you are talking of giants of Africa, during the time when former military leader, General Gowon, was there in power, he said that money is not the problem of Nigeria, it's how to spend it, but to eat it. Then they were just, you know, embarking on a white elephant project that does not touch the masses. Building flyovers in Lagos and all that. A good leader could have made use of that fund that they have that time to industrialize the country so that the people that are coming out from other secondary school, universities, immediately they come out, they get engaged in an industry. A good leader could have thought ahead of mechanized farming, like you have in Israel. They are the world's exporter of, agric products. A good leader could have thought of, let me give electricity to the people. Some countries, what they need is about 10,000 megawatts. They think of 60, 70 megawatts ahead, so that as they grow, the population grows, as the industry is growing, they have no problem. But here in the country, nobody thinks about that, So that's the problem you have. The major problem we have in this country is not having a good leader and not having a clean electoral body that can, except for Humphrey Woods, no other electoral body has done something that one can say this is a good job. So okay. That's the problem we have.
Okay, not having a good leader, will you say that Nigeria have good followers? Because I'm looking at a situation whereby the people you elected are not giving you exactly what you expected to get. And then what is your role as a follower to let them know that this is not what we expect from you? I'm still coming to you, Cherry. Do we have good followers? Are we doing what we're supposed to do to let the leaders know that what you're doing, it's not good for us?
Well, yeah, you can say that they are beaten to, if you are in the ring, a boxing ring, there's a time when your opponent can beat you to the intervention of the referee to stop you from dying. But the leaders are beating Nigerians to the ring that they're almost dead. So they hardly react. But I can tell you that what you have as Nigerians is what Fela call suffering and smiling. And Delegiwa says they are reactionary conservative. They react but conserve, they don't take action. But I can tell you that there's a time when it may not be like that. There are some countries that has pulled down their government because they did not give them what they bargained for. For instance, during the 2023 election, we all saw what transpired. The election that was adjudged to be very clean, and the result was tinkered with. And if Nigerians were the kind of people that are in advanced climes, they couldn't have allowed that to stay. Okay. They should have been on the streets, and the result that was expected is churned out. But they reacted and conserved, like I said. But I know there's a limit to which they can conserve, and that may not take long before it comes on board. Thank you.
Okay, so it's established now that as we don't have good leaders, we also don't have good followers. Otherwise, why are we where we are? Okay, Barrister, when I was doing introduction, I started with telling you about this kind of thing that they do with us, like as if we are beggars, in the way of saying that we're giving you palliatives. Okay, a full-grown man that is supposed to be working and making money for his family. They will say, come and stand on the line, let me give you 1 cup of rice and 2 cups of beans. Now, despite decades of poverty alleviation program, the numbers hardly change. Because I said it here, nobody around me has said that this is what I got from the government palliative. Okay, so are we missing the real causes, or is it a cause of poor implementation? Otherwise, why is the thing that sharing not going round?
Yeah. Actually, this is the root of the problem. That's why we're here, actually. It's not to portray something that is obviously very vivid and practically possible, something you can touch. Poverty in Nigeria, you can touch it, you can feel it. It's not something you can hide because it's obvious. It's obvious because all the indices are not working. The institutions are not working. Who do we hold accountable that in spite of the touted palliative or social interventions, nothing seems to change? It's getting worse because this is 42% in 2018 and 19 to 54% of the poverty rating, and then to 62% in 2025. Those figures indicate a decline in the well-being of our people in a situation where one of two are poor. What country is that? The institutions have failed. The government policies are not practicable. The solutions they prefer are not working. They don't meet the society, even halfway. All the price indexes are rising. There is corruption, monumental corruption. And then corruption in all spheres of life, because where the salaries, where there's imparity, where there's inequality in salary and wages, some people earn $1 million plus, some earn 5 million a month in this country, yet some people earn 20,000, 15,000 in this country. How do you believe that such a situation will augur well for a sustained societal balance? It is not possible, because everything is market oriented. We end up in the same market. Those people who have more money will actually enjoy better goods and services in a country where the poverty index is so as low as it is. So those people who still have money are enjoying a paradise on earth in Nigeria, because there's scarcity of even the cash. That's, in spite of the poverty, money is not available. The inflationary trend is producing another type of inflation that has no definition, where there's a scarcity of goods and there's scarcity of the goods and services. Because in elementary economics, they say where there's fewer goods that are chasing more money and all that kind of small definitions. Now, those kind of definitions are all abandoned into econometrism. So the terms have changed, because the World Bank is saying that all these things come from imbalance in governance, poor governance, unemployment, underemployment. Because when somebody who has a BSc in pharmacy or civil engineering is working as a POS attendant, or working even as a bank clerk, he's not being employed fully in the energies he has spent in school and the skills he has acquired. Therefore, and then you go to the institutions. The judiciary has failed the nation, because if you don't have a judicial system that oversights the executive and the legislature, that will be a near anarchy. And where there's anarchy, there's going to be violence, insecurity. And the food producing chains in the country are challenged. Some local governments are in the hands of non-state actors. So this is the adjective that our people prefer to use instead of to call them terrorists. They say it's a non-state actors. So these local governments that are challenged, and a kind of another grown norm is governance of local governments in the country. Another type of governance level is perpetrated. They tell you when to go to your farm. They tell you what you're going to give them before you can go to the farm. So there's no production, there's no internal agricultural activities going on in most of the food chains. The people who introduce the food balance between what we consume and what we may save or export. So there's insecurity, there's government policies that are not working, macroeconomics that are not working, there's climate change. The top of it, the bottom line of it is the climate change that's producing unusual rains and unusual floods that carry away our food and excavate the land and make the land puerile and not available for agriculture anymore. These things are being overlooked, underlooked, and all that. But they are principally very important. And then, the World Bank is saying the top of the list of the problem is corruption. And what is corruption? When we remove from the pocket of the Commonwealth and expropriate this money outside the shores of this country, where the money will not be available for internal mobilization. Because if you invest this money, stolen, for example, looted, for example, invested in a chain of hotels in this country, it's going to give job, it's going to do a multiplier effect. If you use this money to build a first-class hospital, specialist hospital, it's going to widen the chain and produce multiple effects of employment, of saving in capital flight and medical tourism and all that. But these things are not happening. These monies are being taken away out of the country. Buying real estate in foreign countries, buying houses in Atlanta and Florida, in choice places in America. Bank MDs buying choice properties in the UK. These things are happening before us. So, and when the white people, the Americans see us, they know what we are doing. And we are borrowing from China. And when we are borrowing, they are buying our resources at nothing. Because we are mortgaging. Because this money borrowing is actually not in cash they give these things. These monies are coming resources. They are developing their resources and shipping down to us. And overpricing those materials that are bringing in machinery, expertise, all sorts of things and all that. These are the things we are borrowing for. The little cash they give us, we filter it. We squander it. It goes into private pockets, and the Bureau of the Change people change it into dollars, and it takes a capital flight to America and end up in real estate and all that. This is why what we are doing. And no government have ever implemented the true aspect of social intervention. There's poverty. How do we bring food to the most vulnerable families in this state, in this country? That is the first challenge. Not that you're building an intercoastal road from here to Calabar. How will that multiply?
How does it reflect?
How will that translate?
Put food on my table.
How will that translate immediately? Because if your house is burning, the first thing you do is to rescue, try to get a flood water, how to kick out the fire, how to kick it out. Then if there's hunger, the first thing you have to do is, how do I quell this hunger? How do I stop the hunger? And how do I sustain the program that moves away the hunger from the boredom of our people, so that our people can wake up and enterprise, go to their farms. Because somebody who is challenged, somebody who has not eaten food, a balanced meal for a day or two, cannot go to the farm. And where he can go to the farms have turned into a hideout for terrorists, for kidnappers, and all that. So that you now see our people now stay home rather than be killed in the farms, in the riverine. Fishing is all gone. We no longer have.
You stay hungry.
We no longer have the artisan fish, the fishes in the high waters. We no longer have quality fish. What we now have is just the fish pond, the catfish that we make in our homes and all that. And they don't have the same nutritional value or escotite taste and all that. So we know what is going on.
Last week it was just like eating sand.
Sounding modest in a television screen like this. The country is in throes, and our people live, our governors, our president, they all live in self-denial, in self-abnegation. They don't believe.
Okay,
let me just drop this point. Okay. I hold it so severely sacred that our people, our leaders are living in self-denial. Because development is about priority scale, about preferences, scale of preference. We've all gone to school. We might not be professors, but we have had enough. Knowledge is not anything that is full. Nobody has the full knowledge of everything. But I know, from the little I know, that there is a scale of preference. If we are challenged socially, you'll deal with the social ingredient first. You deal with hunger. You deal with housing first before you begin to do Taj Mahals, before you begin to build 7-story buildings and 10 and 14-story buildings, before you have to build 8 roads that will last 30 years or 40 years. Those things are not the immediacy of the moment. The immediacy of the moment is to quench the anger, quench the hunger, sustain the means to sustainability, making sure that the institutions that we have do the work they are put there to do. The police does the work, the FCC actually does the work. Then the common man is protected by the law. The judiciary rises up to the occasion. If somebody has not won an election, the court should be able to say it, because it's about a contest of votes. It is not about arithmetic or a PhD in legal maneuvers. It is not about that. It's about who actually, between these two of us who are contesting, who actually won this election. The judiciary should be able to determine that timelessly and elegantly, so that there will be a restoration of hope. There will be a restoration of hope.
Okay. Let's move on. Sir Jerry, Nigeria's economy keeps growing on paper, like we always hear that we are growing, our GDP is improving and all this kind of thing. And some of us that are here will keep asking, how does it reflect in the life of the common man in the street? But the average citizen feels poorer and poorer on a daily basis. So why do we have economic growth without prosperity? Secondly, inflation and rising cost of living have pushed many families into deeper hardship. What policy failed? Because some people, some analysts, economic analysts say that this is a failure of economic policy. So which one failed that brought us to our knees, to where we are today? And is there any hope of rejigging, going back to say that I'm taking back my words? I put up this policy thinking that it will do us good, and I have seen that it's not doing. Let me take it back and then rejig.
Rejig. Yeah, you're right, IJ. The president of Kenya really did what you are saying. There's a policy he threw up, and the reaction of the people shows that it didn't go down well with the people, and within some few months, there's adverse effect, to use the medical thing. So he now came up and said, because of this, I am withdrawing this policy. Let us rejig it, and that was, and the people were happy with him. So coming back to here in Nigeria, like I kept on saying, that when a good leader is in power, the people rejoices. But if a bad leader who does not, listen, is in power, the people suffers. When the current president came on board, the first day, had not even time to look at what is on ground, to audit, medicines and all that. He just made a statement that the fuel subsidy is gone. That started the genesis of our people. And to make the matter worse, the windfall that comes out of it is not judiciously used. And when on a given, say, 6 months, like the Kenyan president did, he should have come up to say, I have seen the biting effects of this policy. Let me rejig and possibly do an incremental removal, not on a one-swoop removal. Say, I'm removing fuel subsidy for, say, 20% or 30%, leaving 80% to cushion the effects of things. And when he has removed it 100%, the windfall was not ploughed back. That's the worst thing that has happened. Because if he had, the money that came in went to the governors, more money for them, more money for the National Assembly, more money for the president. They were living in affluence, whereas the street people are suffering. If he had used the windfall, like my learned friend said, to make food available at least to the people, the problem wouldn't have been felt as much. Then, if he had gone ahead to build, to make a shelter available to the people, you know how people, the amount of money people pays for rent now. But if the government can embark on massive housing development, the people can heave a sigh of relief that at least this one is taken off them. The payment to university is taken off from them. Forget the loan, university, the loan they are talking about. Students' loan. I've gone to the university, at least the one nearer to us, Unizik. They are complaining. There's nobody has accessed any money. Where is the money going? I read this morning that 14 point something trillion fuel subsidy accruals. It's not accounted for. So this is how the whole money is filtered away to the government officials. They kept on going to advanced climb to keep the money in their banks. In turn, they use it to give loan to Africa and the other things. So, it's a question of leaders, good leaders. The good leaders can turn around this country for good.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll take a break here to talk to some people on the street. And then when we come back, we'll look at some of these challenges. And then the proposition of what the president is bringing to the table concerning the economic situation of things in Nigeria. Just like this.
That there are certain things that leadership of this country is supposed to provide for the country. They are not providing it. Things like education, things like skilled labors for the youths. Then the economy is going down on a daily basis. So it's affecting both the parents and the children. So generally, I will lay it on the floor of the government.
The truth is that we have a lot of graduates in this country, but then when they graduate from university, they find it difficult finding a job in which they can use to get a means of livelihood, and it tends to demotivate, it tends to downgrade them and make them find menial jobs, and the poverty rate keeps increasing. So if the government creates employment opportunities, not for specific job offers, at least when you know that you know that when you've learned something, when you've learned the handwork, you are so assured that there is something you can find yourself doing that can use to help yourself, and that can help too. Intentional empowerment, like worthwhile empowerment by the government, taking out time to create empowerment programs that will be helpful to them, especially in this time that we're in a digital era. We know that most job opportunities now are mostly of tech and all. The government can try to bring out empowerment opportunities that they can use to train them intentionally and build them, and also help them with the necessary facilities to start up something. Some of us tend to rely just on the government. We just tend to put our whole hope on the government. And the government does not do anything, we just relax and we don't put our effort, we don't boost our effort, we don't do the necessary things to get what we used to survive. So aside the government being a major problem, you yourself, we ourselves, we have to put in the necessary effort, because it is in our effort that our help can be seen, our help can come.
It creates awareness to the youth. At least youth empowerment will help. I believe it will reduce this poverty and when security in our states. When there is security and they create a job opportunity for youth, after graduation they have job. It will reduce all this poverty and the corruption in Nigeria.
Poverty is a thing of the mind, one. Then it now translates to human lifestyle. Why it keeps increasing in Nigeria is that we don't have plans for the future. We just live our life for what we see, and that's not a way a country can grow, because a country that without a plan will always live to have poverty increasing in itself. No project for the later future, nothing is set out for people. So when this happens, you see that poverty will keep increasing. People come out of schools without any innovation, nothing is just walking around. And any country that doesn't have a working system is just hinging to poverty.
Okay, welcome back. Good morning, Anambra. We are looking at this nagging topic of poverty in the land. How are we going to, come out of this to ensure that every Nigerian citizen has something to eat, feed, if not for anything, feed twice a day. We're not talking about 3 square meals again. That one has gone with place for the past 10 years. People are complaining. And then, but in the last few years that we are maybe, 2 years back, it became obvious that some people don't even have, can't even eat 2 times. Some don't eat at all. Okay? And based on this, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Ahmed Tinubu, had come out to say that you guys should exercise patience with him, that this is just a reform that he's putting in place, and that very soon everybody will start smiling. Okay, that usually is like a woman in the labor that will go through all the pains in the world to push out the baby. But when the baby is out, the baby starts crying and everybody starts smiling. That's exactly what the president told us. But is it exactly like that? Some people are asking, how long are we going to wait? This gestation period lasts for just 9 months, and you have stayed 2 years, going to 3 years. So how long are we going to wait for this your policies to start coming to fruition? Okay, and then like I've tried to put up, if you have a policy somersault, what do you do as a leader? But then, even as he has said that, World Bank has come out to advise us this morning again, because that's what we're facing in this country, like the barrister said, inflation. Defining all the economic terms that we grew up with. Everything that goes up must come down. When the prices goes up, the demand, that kind of thing, all those, economic policies, none of them works in Nigeria. And then World Bank came in this morning to say, tempt inflation to enjoy reforms. And this is an advice coming from World Bank. Tempt inflation. How do we tempt this inflation when, at least a lot of us know that some of the problems that we're in, we are caused by World Bank, telling us to devalue your naira, to do this, to do that, and after doing all those ones, we started having problems, and now it's not telling us to tempt inflation. So, Barrister, how do we tempt this inflation?
Yes, the World Bank is not a device of deceit. The World Bank is, let me just call them a group. an economic group of intelligent people. Why their policies do not work, their policies do not work, is not because of human intervention. Nothing will work in Nigeria because there's ostensibly corruption has overridden every economic tool that is implementable. There must be, the policy aspiration must match achievement. In a country where you live in extreme opulence, you ride on a convoy of 20 vehicles, 30 vehicles. The other day, people were watching in Owerri, where our president visited Imo State. I saw children who were upstairs, not children, adults, everybody, traders. They were counting the vehicles. They were shouting 20, 30, 41, 50, and all that. And it continued like that. Then this is a country where you go a borrowing. You are fitting yourself with a yacht. You're fitting yourself with the latest private jet. In your convoy, you have the latest the best latest automobile in the world that man has ever made is in your convoy. In a country that is socially challenged, in a country where people are dying of hunger, a country where people are dying because there are no longer doctors in the hospitals. In a country where our hospitals look like mortuaries. That is what actually is on the ground. Forget about all the BOT. Forget about all the street sweeping. They sweep every morning. I wake up, people wake up, they are sweeping the streets of Abuja. They're sweeping it for the rich, the people who have access to the budget of this country. Immediately the budget of this country is made or delivered, the money is spilled, the money is shared, the resources are all shared. And then you ask, what do we do? How do we get out of this place? What is the situation? It's not going to work if we don't curb corruption. You can't use a leaking basket to go fetch water from the ocean, believing that you're going to transfer the ocean into a river. It is not possible. You've got to close the leakages. There has to be transparencies. Government projects has to be explicitly targeted at budget, implementable, and deductible, and equal and equivalent. That is what it means, is that what it takes to construct a 10-kilometer road here should look like what it should take to construct the same type of road in Kenya, in any other state comparable. So, but not when you construct a 1-kilometer road with 20 million per kilometer. Another person does it with 5 million. Another person does it with 1 million. It's marks of arbitrariness. Let's call it arbitrariness. But the greatest challenge, the low-hanging problem Nigeria has, is not being able to niche corruption with such a manageable size that budgets trickle down to the people. Social intervention, like you remember when they said they were feeding children during the COVID, we threw 500 million. They were giving school children food. And yet, you locked the schools. The schools were not in session. And how did you manufacture the feeding? Were you feeding these children? The grasses, or all that. So there's been monumental signs of policy somersaults where we don't even mean what we write or what we say. Like our president went to France. I think it's France he went to. And his arbitrary, all the cuffs, altered that the corruption is dead in Nigeria. And he's done it all. But our lives, we live our lives on corruption every day. The policeman stops you. There's no negotiation. He's asking you for money. The passport person is asking you for money. The health attendant at the hospital is asking you for a tip. It's all about money. It's about because there are wide gaps between equality and adequacy. Sometimes you now know that these people who are taking bribe have no option because their salary do not lead them to prosperity. The policeman is poorly paid. The army officer is poorly paid. Yet, the House members, in the other day there was a debate, the official salary is about 1.5 or 1.3, but they take home about 23 million point something million a month. It is something that cries for heaven. Even if that money, that million remains million, even if it's in rubies, you're counting. I'm so ashamed that this station is a public place where it is. So what are they legislating about? There are no electoral reforms they have made. There are nothing they have added to the tableau of laws that have aided this country. Rather, they have sat back and accepted the budgetary corruption over padding by them, where some senators receive about 1 point something billion for constituency projects, take monies they pocket and become overlaws, and immediately they finish, they come to their communities and create godfathers and godsons, and begin to aspire to become governors because they have so much money. And that's why they kill themselves in order to go to the Senate. Because what they do in the Senate is just to share resources of Nigeria.
Get resources to come back to the state.
Because why would we make a law that our election should be guided by BVN and BVR and all that, and iReport and all those, kind of going towards digitization, that almost every country in the world do no longer do manual elections. And that is why America, as big as it is, as expansive in population and sizes, the election ends in hours. And results begin to get up. Hardly do you end up in court, and the court sit down for 9 months, sizzling out prepaid judgments that do not reflect the wills of the people and aspiration of our people. So what are we talking about poverty? Are we going to just be reading out grammar and all that? It's about curbing the art flow, the moving out, offshoring our resources outside the country, buying real estate in Atlanta, Florida, and all that. I remember when we were in college, Obasanjo came in and introduced Operation Feed the Nation. Did it not work? Everybody went to the farm. Then he introduced made in Nigeria goods. The highest vehicle a public officer can ride was a 504 Peugeot. Because it is assembled in Nigeria. And then now, every public officer has not just one vehicle. He has a Jeep, an exotic Jeep with support vehicles, and changeable every 2 or 3 years. You don't see the convoy of the governors. You don't see the convoy, the one I saw at Owerri, where our president and our children were counting. They couldn't count in their fingers. They were counting and counting. Then why you are tightening your belt, you're tightening your stomach intestines, they are drinking champagne, they are going to hospitals in foreign lands, they are eating the best of our meat, their children are not schooling with us. Then you should lead from the front. You should lead by example. These are low-hanging fruits. Give the leadership of this country for a man who sacrifices this leadership for. Give it to a saint. This country will work in hours.
Okay, thank you. Let's conclude a bit. To conclude, Sir Jerry, we have gone around the country to see exactly what it looks like. Okay, the poverty situation of Nigeria. And then perhaps various interventions that the federal government has tried to put in place to alleviate poverty. And then poverty is increasing on a daily basis. There is no end to it. Let's come back to the state and the local governments. Is there anything that the state governments and the state and the local governments can do to alleviate poverty within? Before now, you have said here that all the money that is accruable to the removal of oil subsidy that is being shared between the federal and the state government. So in that case, that means the money is in the state and then by extension to the local government.
Yes.
Okay, so what can they do to alleviate poverty for their own people?
Yeah, that's a good one. Not only pointing fingers at the federal. The state and local government can do their bit with what comes to them, because like I said, with the money that is coming from the fuel subsidy removal, they are getting more money. They are getting more money as security votes. So, one, they can invest the money they are getting to secure the state or secure the local government so that the farmers can go into farming to produce more food. They can use the money they have to buy farm implements to, modernize the farming. The tractors, I used to know when in old Anambra State they have a tractor, yard at Ibariam, but nowadays you hardly see anything. So let them buy tractors.
That was when the Ibarian farm settlement is for,
yes,
owned by government.
Yeah, so that they can, rent both harvesters, these are all those ones, so that the farmers will get modern and produce more. They can even as well, import food and do food subsidies, not only fuel subsidy. They can, I know in the olden days there's what they call essential foods, essential commodities. Yes, the state can do that, or local government can do that, so that
subsidize the food.
The food.
Get the rice, get the beans, get the oil, veg oil, what do you call red oil, and every edibles.
Yes.
And then subsidize it. If the market is selling 50,000 naira a bag of rice, you sell 20, sell 25.
You're right. And that could force the market people to bring down theirs.
Bring it down.
Like, Barrister said, it's on scale of preference. At least let the people eat before doing the skyrocketed project, White Elephant project and all that. Plazas, shopping mall and all that. Who will go there to shop or buy or do that? So those are the things, the kind of things they can do. Use their money they have to make electricity available to their people. Subsidize the meter, prepaid meter, there's gamut of problems in Nigeria, So, so that the people can spend on what they consume, not prepare the billing and all that. So that's what I think they can be doing on their own bit, apart from the the problem of the federal.
All right, thank you very much. Barrister, you might want to come in here. What can the state and the government do to alleviate poverty for their own people, because it's going to be on a smaller scale and manageable?
They have to prioritize the social infrastructure. What is it that will add value directly to the people? One is that the wages and salaries are so poor. If there are no consumptions, proper consumptions, that matches production, the country declines. You can't pay somebody a non-living wage. How is he going to participate in the market forces? It's not going to be part of the market forces, because it is our decisions, our corporate decisions, that affects the market forces, that determines ultimately the prices of goods and services. So if somebody has a low wage, he's on the fringe of the calculation. He can't participate. First of all, the basic thing to do is to make sure to immediately attack the salary and wages inadequacy. Make sure that the minimum wage thing is actually dealt with to this fullest implementation and this public-spirited social demand. You don't just say, come, let us negotiate where there's a minimum wage. You now pay us, you pay civil servant whatever you wish, and all that. So basically,
like
where to start,
your private pockets.
yes, basically where to start is by making sure that the people who receive wages and salaries, pensions, are properly looked after, making sure that they have access to subsidize healthcare, to subsidize drug for those who are on regular drug regimen. Then school fees, then taxes are so enormous. Because when you tax the people, when you tax these enterprises who manufacture a few things that they still manufacture in Nigeria, they move the taxes to the people. If you increase the price of the pump price of the fuel, they transfer it to the end users, you and I. Yes. And the end users inherit the burden. The same people, and yes. It affects the global market prices of essential goods. Because yams are rotten, tomatoes are produced in very large quantities, but they rot away because, one, you can't fret it down to where the consumption is higher. You know that. You know that tomatoes go bankrupt, go messed up, because the cost of bringing tomatoes down from the plateau, the Taraba, and all those farming areas down to the south is as big as, not bordering, to bring it down. So when these lorries charge this enormous amount of money because of haulage, because of bad road, the tomato that is virtually free in the north comes here at very high cost. So these things are things that are practical. And at the local government level, there's supposed to be a separation of power between the local government and the state government. This fund and all that, independence of these monies, let these funds go straight to the local government, and let them also intervene practically and socially in the lives of the people they govern by giving them interest loan, farming loans, revolving non-interest loans that people can use at the start of the farming season to do yam, to do our indigenous yam. Not when we are doing all this festival. A friend of mine called me, I should give him a hands-on on what he's going to say in a New Yam festival at Lagos. I said, do you eat yam in a foreign land? There's this thing in the Bible there. How can we worship
the name of the Lord
in a foreign
in a strange land?
In a strange land. But Mali used it in one of his songs, Redemption Song. How can we eat our yams? As sacred as yams are in Igbo mythology, how can we eat our yam imported from the north as our indigenous yams? When we are growing up, it is the yam that our grandmothers went to the backyard bands there to because that's the first thing they do.
Has this always been grandmother? Your grandfathers don't farm here. Is it your grandmother?
You know, grandmothers and grandfathers. I didn't meet my own grandfather. I met my own grandmother, and she was active in the farm. So my usage is correct. So she would just go down over the yam farm there at the back, just within the family compound, uproot one or two or three of, and we have this yam, and that's the one we use for our yam festival. But now people import yams from the north and say they're doing yam festival. It should stop. And our governors can make it to stop by monetizing, by making sure that the people who actually do this farming, this yam cultivation, there are some towns in Anambra that do extensive farm on yam production. Umunze, for example, near our area, Aguleri, give them loans to cultivate more seed yams so that we expect a more bountiful harvest by next year. Give them money for maize. Give them money for this. Give them money for all that. It will come back. Give them money for even domestic husbandry, animal husbandry. It will come back. Even if they renege in paying, it's also a matter of social intervention.
To the lives of people.
But to allow our people to wallow and wait for them only at the election levels, where you now start sharing 10,000 and 15,000 without prejudice to what I'm saying.
It's a level of wickedness.
So
honestly.
What we're saying is that this intervention should not just come from the federal government. This thing should come from the state government. Okay. It should come from the state government. Make sure that salary and wages are well identified, because it is an inalienable right. It's a right that where there's a law prescribing the minimum wage, we're not even asking for extra. People are not asking for extra. Some governments
will take.
Some governments
because the salary has become so lean that if you go to ministries, now somebody was telling me that immediately after 2 weeks after payment, people don't come to work again. Yes. You know, they will start gapping it. It will come on Tuesday, it won't come on Wednesday. Because there's no transport money. Because there's no house in Oka that you can afford to pay and live in. So most of them come from their villages.
They come from the outskirts. They come from the outskirts.
So when you calculate the transport money from the your village to this place, to and fro, you see that you don't have the money. So the salary you are paid finishes in 2 weeks' time.
Of course. For you to go from just example of a transportation cost. For my son to go to Unizik from Gome House, at the back of Gome House, I have to give him 1,000. Returning 1,000.
Look at that.
Then from him to go from our house,
every day,
from Gome House to the Eke Market, you need to have 1,000, 1,005. Return journey 1,005, because you have to do one and stop here. From here, stop at the market. So these things needs to be talked about.
Yeah, that was why when you talked about the living wage, it really touched me, because I am involved. Okay, let's move on now. Before we conclude, we have looked at the federal government intervention, the states, the local government. Let's also look at the private sector. Okay, because the private sector is often called the engine of growth in any economy, that they drive the economy. Okay, I grew up to hear that one. Then how can entrepreneurs and tech innovators, now that we are, how can they help reduce poverty sustainably? It's not you reduce today and tomorrow it starts again. How can the private sector put up something that is sustainable to help, alleviate poverty, since they are called the engine drivers of every economy, not just Nigerian economy? Yes, Jerry, let me come to you.
Yeah, the private sector is not island unto itself. They're operating in the system, of the country. They borrow money from the Nigerian banks at a high interest rate, apparently. So the banks could help and the government to reduce the interest rates, at which they give loan to the private sector. That will also translate to them producing and giving out their goods and services at a cheaper rate.
Okay, that's when you have asked the federal government to cut down on the taxes. Because just like Barrister said, you tax them, they tax us. Okay.
And when the taxes you are collecting is not reflecting, is a serious matter.
Very serious.
So that's the way they have to do it.
Okay,
and they have a challenge of electricity, because if they use diesel, you know how much it is. So these things makes what they produce problematic to the people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. And finally, before we go, Barrister, let us also look at our own input, please. Maybe in a sentence, what can the citizens do to alleviate poverty for themselves? So what are we going to bring to the table individually to ensure that we live better, not just waiting for government, please? Briefly.
not waiting for the government is Herculean, but we can do self-denial. We can be a little more honest to ourselves, making sure that you don't put your prices of the small goods that you produce at ceilings that people cannot buy. Making sure that there's transparency in measure. That is, when you say you're giving somebody 1 mudu of gari, make sure it's actually up to that level. It's not when you use a magic cup to cheat your fellow poor person. That is not sufficient unto the purpose. So
and then you see a rich person, he blew the gari bunyi and say, maybe when the governors or the what they call those people go for campaigns, people will dash them things. And you see a very poor person like me that comes, you will put money for me.
the point you people made about the private sector wasn't really handled well. The private sector is investing in a mono area. Most of them are investing in gas and oil related fact. Nobody's diversifying. Anambra State has no investment. There are no investment. If you want fish fingerlings, you import it from Ibadan. If you want chicks, layers, all this chicken thing. If you want to start production of it, you import it from Lagos.
Crayfish, you go to you.
So we are not. What we have here is just filling stations and hotels.
And hotels. That's you say we don't invent. It's a big investment.
What is the multiplier effect is low. A big hotel.
It's still an investment.
No,
it's an investment.
It doesn't add. It doesn't add.
Hotels and filling stations.
It's talking of diversifying.
How many people will man a filling station?
Diversifying.
I know. Well, remember,
how many pumps do you have?
We have a car manufacturing company here. Okay, within us, and a whole lot of them. We have customized rice. We have a whole lot of them.
Given those that have been existing in the past 20 years, what new thing can you add?
What new thing? That's exactly what I wanted to say. Let us embrace this investment, especially
the diversification of the economy, the investment. It's not a monoline thing. It's either you're doing a hotel in Anambra.
Chike has built hotel. Let me go and build my own.
Danube Hotel,
this person has built filling station. Let me build my own.
And the hotels are idling away.
They are, because there's so many of them.
Because there are no interconnected activities that bring people to go sleep in hotels.
You're right. Very much right. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. You've really done justice to this topic. Nigerians' poverty challenge, why are millions still trapped in hardship? That's exactly what we looked at this morning, and I'm sure that we gave you something to go home with. We'd like to thank you very much, Barrister Chris Arukwe, our public affairs analyst, for making it happen this morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Okay. And then Sajeri Obodo, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so this is where we are calling it a day for this discussion segment. Another round will come your way tomorrow. But for now, do stand by for the rest of the programs we'll have for your viewing pleasure. We'll have Catch the Buzz. We'll have news coming at 10. We'll have sports and a whole lot of things for this morning. But my name is Ijoma. See you tomorrow.